Mr. Speaker, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Great to be with you guys.
Yeah. John Patterson joining us, represents Lee's Summit in the Missouri House, also is the Speaker of the House, and a Blue Springs native. In fact, your parents still live down the street from me.
Yes, they do. 1998 Blue Springs High School.
All right, there you go. Go Wildcats and all that. So I hear it said a lot that it means a lot that we have a Speaker of the House from the Kansas City area. It's first time since the Civil War and all that. What does that really mean?
Well, the Speaker is one of the people that really sets the agenda in Jefferson City. And so the things that matter to people in Jackson County and Kansas City area are things that matter to me. And a lot of the time we have speakers from St. Louis or Springfield. So the priorities that we have in Jackson County kind of get set to the side.
Yeah.
And it's nice to have someone that can help set the agenda. And I'll give you an example. Our elected assessor, or the lack thereof,
Right.
that's been an issue, but nobody else in the state cared about it because they all have elected assessors. And so when I first got in, I made that a huge priority. And then last year, of course, Carolyn Caton, Jeff Coleman, we worked on a bill. And so this fall, we'll be voting on a bill to put in the Constitution that Jackson County will have an elected assessor just like everybody else.
And we should. And, full disclosure here, and I'm running for Jackson County Legislature, 5th District and all that. Jackson County's a mess.
It is.
Where do you even want to start? From a state perspective, what in the world can be done?
Well, I think we're making some good steps. The elected assessor's one. Getting a new county executive is another. I think we're moving in the right direction. And then, of course, the elections in the fall. What I've been telling people is, we lost the chiefs probably because of property taxes, and we had the property tax situation because of our leadership in the Jackson County legislature. And so these elections really matter, and whoever we pick as our next executive, we got to make sure they're really good and is focused on Jackson County and is someone that will make good decisions, because I don't think we've had that for a while.
Right, we haven't. Phil Lavoda is a Democrat. He's filling in an interim role, says he will not run again. And friends of mine have said, he's the best county executive we've ever had. I'd like to twist his arm and get him to run.
Yeah, I don't know what'll happen with that and what kind of promises were made, but I agree with you. He's been a breath of fresh air. I've enjoyed working with him. We actually work together quite a bit. And he's going to come down to Jefferson City next week to be here as my guest for the State of the State, believe it or not. And I just want people to know in Jackson County and in Blue Springs and Grain Valley, Lee's Summit, Independence, that their leadership in Jefferson City is working with the leadership in Jackson County, because we all want to fix things in Jackson County, because like you said, it is kind of a mess.
Well, before we get to the legislative agenda and how that affects everything statewide, while we're talking about Jackson County, obviously the Chiefs have announced they're going to go to Kansas. I think the Royals are definitely leaving the Truman Sports Complex. Is that an issue at the state level, and how are you involved in that?
Well, it was an issue at the state level. Of course, we at the state feel like the best place for both the teams was in Missouri, and want to do everything we can to keep the Royals. In terms of the Chiefs, they've made their decision, and I don't hold it against the organization for making a good business decision for themselves. I do think as Kansans learn more about the deal that was made, and they learn more and more, I think they're liking it less and less. So we'll just have to see what goes on over there. Right now, I'm mainly just focused on the Royals, and we at the state have really done everything we can do. I think we put together a pretty fair offer that's fair to taxpayers and the organization and the teams and the city. We'll just have to see what kind of decision they make. But I think for baseball, I think it should be downtown, and it should be downtown Kansas City.
I'm the kind of guy that looks at what's next instead of crying in my milk about, what they're not going to do, what's next. Yeah. And when you look at Truman Sports Complex, it's been there since 1972. Royals and Chiefs have played there. That entire property is owned by Jackson County. Am I correct on that?
Yes. Yeah. I believe so. And it's administered by the Jackson County Sports Authority.
Yeah. So once they leave, I'm thinking about what's next. And I know you have some thoughts on this. My thought is, if Jackson County owns that thing, let's get a private developer in there and put some sort of enterprise zone together, and let's build the next big thing there.
Yeah, and let's not put our heads down. It was kind of a gut punch to have one of the teams leave, but the Marty Schottenheimer rule: cry for 24 hours or celebrate for 24 hours and then move on.
Yeah.
And I actually think we could really do some great things out there. We could host big football games. You know, the Chiefs had 8 football games a year. Could we host big events? Could we play outdoor hockey game there? World Cup rugby, Women's World Cup. I think there are still a lot of opportunities to use Arrowhead.
Oh,
So
so in
I'm
your mind,
not.
you'd keep the stadium.
I think that would be one option, and just
Hmm.
there's the Cotton Bowl still exists, even though a professional team doesn't play there, and just host games. We could do the big Mizzou Lawrence game there every year, and have that. We could. There's outdoor hockey games. There's all kind of things that we could do. Have big concerts. So I'm not necessarily as downtrodden as I was
Okay.
before. I think we could make that something great. You could have great soccer fields out there, but like you say, just develop it and make it a great thing, and not necessarily put a data center there,
Yeah. Oh,
but something
exactly.
that it really is cool for people to come to.
I was just kind of thinking in my own mind what might go there that would take up that area. And the first thing that came to mind, you've got St. Luke's down on the plaza. And that's an area that, I work in Westport at the radio station.
Yeah.
So I see what's going on there and the traffic flow down there. I mean, what if St. Luke's just like took that area and built a humongous hospital, research center, elder housing, and all that kind of stuff? That's kind of how my mind
Yeah.
works. It's like we have this big piece of property,
Yeah.
what can we do with it?
Yeah, I haven't thought about a hospital, and there's probably all kinds of regulations. Of
Yeah.
course, there's good hospitals, research, and center point around there. But yeah, I don't. I think just demolishing it and having it be an empty parking lot, that's not a great option. I think we could do something really great with it.
Well, for those who don't know, you are a doctor and a surgeon and all that, so you would know a little bit about hospitals.
Yeah, yeah. I've spent some time in hospitals.
So let's talk about taxes from the
Yeah.
state level, because there's taxes on a lot of levels here. There's the income tax I'm hearing about. There's the personal property tax I'm hearing about, and certainly in Jackson County we know about property taxes.
Absolutely. So I think, like I said before, we probably didn't get the vote done for the Chiefs and Royals because people are just so fed up
They
with
are.
property taxes, and they weren't going to go to the polls and say, let's extend this tax. So as legislators, we talk with our neighbors and constituents, and the number one thing we hear is property tax and personal property tax, at least in Jackson County.
Hmm.
It's just such an issue. We were hurt for a good number of years in the past 5 years because of the leadership that we had in Jackson County, and now we're just trying to dig our way out of it. So a lot of the legislation that we're looking at addresses those things, and then the bigger goal, the bigger issue in terms of the income tax is for our state. Do we want to be a state where people are moving into, where businesses are moving into, people want to retire here, people want to raise their families here? Or do we want to be a state that kind of just loses population and doesn't grow? I think when you look at the states that are doing really well, it's the states that treat people fairly in terms of taxes. So you look at a place like Tennessee. I was just there last week.
Hmm.
So many cranes in the sky. Obviously, they've found something. Florida, no taxes, no income tax. Texas, no income tax. The question is, do we want to be like those states, and what can we do? Or the alternative, which seems to be, well, let's just keep doing things as we've always done it.
I'm a guy who does not like taxes. I don't think anybody really likes taxes,
Right.
but and I like to look at it like this: what is the cost of government? And how are we going to pay for it? Instead of let's just tax everybody on everything they've got, we'll have this big hunk of money, and then we'll figure out how we're going to spend it. I think that's bass backwards, as my old football coach would say.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
so you obviously have expenses that you have to cover. I mean,
Right.
if we do away with the income tax, how do we cover that?
Well, I'd be the first to say we're not going to get out of paying taxes as much as I would like to do that. You have to pay for government somehow, the basic services that government's supposed to provide, roads, schools. The question is income tax the best way to do it? And government has 100 different ways to tax you: sales tax, use tax, cigarette tax, income tax. Income tax is one of those. I would argue that income tax is probably one of the least efficient ways to do it, meaning people go to work, they're taxed on their earnings so that they can come home and pay taxes on what they own. That's the current system. And there's a question of does eliminating the income tax and moving to something else, does that hurt lower income folks? Well, I will tell you this. Lower income folks pay 100% of Missouri's income tax, meaning Missourians pay 100% of income tax. Well, if you did a sales tax or something else, people that are visiting or driving through, they help pay for some of our
Right.
government. And so all of those things are things that you have to look at in terms of how we fund our government. No one, Governor Kehoe, me, legislative leaders, nobody is saying you're going to get out of paying taxes. Unfortunately, you're going to have to pay it somehow. What's the best, most efficient way to do it?
I like the conversation. I mean, and I hope it
Yeah,
continues and we
yeah.
keep talking about this. It's
And
not
it's a
something
serious
like
conversation.
you couldn't do it like in a year. It would have to be phased out
No,
anyway.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It would have to be phased in, and we'd have guardrails to make sure that we wouldn't have deep cuts in one year. Nobody wants to have a government that can't fund itself. That wouldn't be good for anybody.
But I like the idea. I mean, we border 8 different states. And if some
Right.
of those folks want to come in here, and set up
And
shop, I
help
think we'd be all
save.
for that.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you gave me a little nugget here that intrigued me because I hadn't heard about this. This Will Job thing that you teased me with. What's going on there?
Yeah. Well, I think Representative Job, he's a good man. I've enjoyed working with him. He's a representative out of Independence in Jackson County, and he filed a House bill yesterday to look at impeaching Secretary of State Denny Hoskins. And so I think impeaching a statewide official that our state elected is a very serious thing. And so I think there's a number of court cases going on. I just don't think that we should spend our time in that very limited time that we have, a finite amount of time doing impeachments and things that of course wouldn't go through.
Right. Well, you know that if the Democrats win Congress, it's going to be impeachment city on Donald Trump for the last
Yeah.
2 years.
I would rather talk about property taxes, personal property taxes, making people's lives better than doing impeachments and doing political stuff.
Okay, well, you're an Eastern Jackson County guy, so I'm going to ask you this question. I don't know how you want to handle it, but Mike Steinmeier pre-filed the bill on separating. And I would just ask it this way. I mean, when I talk to voters, and again, I'm running for Jackson County Legislature because I've looked at this from both sides, and right now my mindset is it's better to try and change it from within, which is why I'm running. But what benefit is there to those of us who live in Eastern Jackson County to be shackled to Kansas City, Missouri?
Yeah, there are certain benefits to being together and certain disadvantages to that. In St. Louis, they kind of have this. They have the St. Louis City, and then they have the county, and they're separate. And there's a lot of people that want to put them back together because they think that would be better. I think what Representative Steinmeier is saying is that we in Jackson County, we pay a lot of taxes, and the benefits. A lot of benefits go to the city in terms of government services. And so I think what he's saying is if it can't be more equitable, why don't we just separate and we pay our bills, we keep our taxes, you pay your bills, you keep your taxes. I think it's an interesting conversation, and I think we'll have that. Ultimately, to do it, Kansas City is a city that's in 4 different counties. It would be very hard to do, and practically and politically speaking, probably impossible. But I think it's a good discussion to have because it'll bring to light, well, what is Eastern Jackson County doing, and what are they getting versus Kansas City, and what are they doing, what are they getting? I think we'll have that conversation.
Well, Steinmeier is going to be on the podcast next week, so I'm going to ask him that.
Great.
We're going to do a deep dive on that. But to your point about what Eastern Jackson County gets out of this deal, they just went through the ARPA. Was it ARPA? The funding that came out of COVID, the emergency COVID money, they're finally spending it. And I saw the list of who got the money, and it starts with $1.3 million to the Urban League and goes down from there. And I didn't see any Eastern Jackson County agencies.
Yeah, and that's exactly what he's talking about. We pay a lot of taxes out there. And we see the benefits probably go to the city more than out in Eastern Jackson County.
All right. So you're about to be termed out. You're going out on top. You're going to be the Speaker of the House. And now you're running for the state Senate. Tell me about that.
Yeah, well, I've been a state representative for 8 years, representing just Lee's Summit. And our great state senator, Mike Searpoy, he's termed out as well. So the state Senate seat that basically encompasses Lee Summit and Blue Springs would be open. And I didn't come to Jeff City to be a career politician. I hate the thought of that, but I think the service that I've done, what I've learned in Jeff City, is valuable. And I think being someone that's my hometown is Blue Springs, I've made my home in Lee Summit. I think I'm a pretty good candidate to represent all those people. I think I have a good idea of what's important to us and what we want. So made the decision to run for the state senate, and that election will be this year. And hope to continue my service serving Blue Springs, Lee Summit, Greenwood, and Lone Jack.
Well, I think the world of you. I think you're a very bright guy. You're getting a lot of things done in Jefferson City that people didn't think could be done. And I think you'd make an amazing senator.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
John Patterson. He is the Speaker of the House in Missouri. And appreciate you being on the podcast, sharing your views today. Did we cover everything? Is there anything else you want to throw out?
I think there's a lot more to talk about, but I'll come on again.
Come again. All right. John,
okay,
thank you.
With you.
Take care.
Thanks.